Okay, up front, sorry for the clickbait title, but the heart of the sentiment is true. Crytek manager David Fifield recently did an interview with PC Gamer talking about the reception to the Tide of Shadows event, the Pact system, and even MMR. There are some really interesting tidbits of information in here, and I'll give you all of those notes, but also do me a favor and give that article a read. PC Gamer is really great at what they do, and you can find the link to that article below the subscribe button. Ahem. The article opens with the backdrop that the new Tide of Shadows event has pushed Hunt Showdown to break a new record for concurrent player count. Basically, a lot of change is happening, but for the better, or at least in a way that people are taking notice. And then the article breaks down some of the new content in this event, like the Thundershower wildcard condition. Fifield says about the reception to the new Thundershower, quote, "There was a concern that, hey, is this not going to be as fun as people thought it would be, even though we really enjoyed testing it?" And then he continues, "So I'm surprised by how positive it's been and that it wasn't more mixed." In my opinion, I'd say that piece of content is what people are most excited for with this event. This new weather effect. Rotjaw is cool, the new weapons are cool, but the Thundershower finally brings something new and dynamic to all three of the existing maps. Obviously, we still want to see new maps, but the Thundershower does breathe some life into them, and that's been really nice. Also new with this event is the Wildcard Contract, where players can select a queue into a playlist that has the Thundershower and night time of day on a single bounty map that also features Rotjaw. In comparison to the Inferno from Devil's Moon, which had set days of 100% fire maps, this system lets players have more choice in how often they play the new weather wildcard. But as with all things, it isn't perfect. Fifield said, "That frequency of map rotation, that frequency of a thing that everybody wants to see but nobody wants to see 100% of the time, that's the big thing we've been wrestling with." You may remember Crytek reduced the frequency of night maps in the Wildcard Contract early on, but this separate Wildcard Contract queue still creates some problems. Players who don't like night maps have to slog through them to play in the rain, and any teams that prefer duos are stuck in a permanent trio queue with that Wildcard Contract. So Crytek is still wrestling with these issues, as Fifield said, and it'll be interesting to see how it evolves. Also in this event is the return of the Pact Traits, but with a few tweaks. You've probably seen the videos claiming Mariner is OP or Death Cheat breaks the game, aside from the bug. Well, it turns out that is on purpose, at least kind of. Fifield said, quote, "One of our litmus tests even amongst ourselves when we propose one of these new traits is if nobody says, don't do that, then it's not actually good enough." And he continues, "It's temporary, so we'll walk it back, we'll tune it, we'll keep going forward with the ones that made the games more fun and interesting, and it's not going to be fun or interesting if it's so subtle as to not be talked about." I think a good example of too subtle to not be talked about was the infernal traits from Devil's Moon, which no one really picked. The article points out that Necro Revive for solo players is a good example of a trait that was tested during Devil's Moon and then added as a permanent addition. And that definitely raises the question of which of the current Pact traits might make it to the game after Tide of Shadows has ended. You can answer your thoughts to that question down below in the comments. And then we get into the most interesting section to me, MMR. This is a topic that has never really left the public consciousness of the community. You see it on the subreddit, the official Discord, and in YouTube titles. MMR is, in a word, contentious. And in this article, we got some thoughts on how Crytek views the system itself and players' perception around it. So, very quickly, the MMR system in Hunt is a star rating of 1 to 6, which goes up or down depending on if you kill enemy players or players kill you, and that value can change rapidly in a single match with a lot of kills or deaths. Players often view this system as an absolute, where 3 stars should never be going against a 6-star player. Fifield talked about that player perception with this analogy. Quote, "There is one way to look at MMR, which is to say, I'm a 4-star and went into this game and got killed by a 6-star. One person can look at that and think, I don't feel bad, I got killed by a 6-star. I don't expect a dunk on Michael Jordan. But there's another way that's, how on earth could you put me on the court with Michael Jordan?" Most people are going to have that second reaction. And that's something I've felt in my friend groups and in my Discord too, the screenshots of a couple of 4 stars fighting a full team of 6-star players. And when you compare that to other games like Apex Legends or something, it would be weird if an Apex Predator was fighting a bunch of bronze players. The gap in this expectation is that the MMR isn't meant to be a ranked system, at least not as we traditionally think of them. Fifield clarifies, quote, "But then some people want to be more like a traditional ranking, like bronze, silver, gold, platinum, onyx. And because we don't have that rank system, they glom onto MMR. And when you make that the end-all be-all goal, if everyone is saying you should play to be a 6-star, that's when players say it makes people play in an unfun way. Camping with snipers in bushes, not engaging with the game, watching Netflix while they wait for a victim, all because they've perceived that the goal should be get to 6 stars. I don't think that quote is to say that the MMR system is pointless. It does help matchmaking feel a bit more fair, and players can use it to sense some form of improvement in their gameplay and tactics. But as Fifield says, the MMR system as it currently exists isn't the end-all be-all objective of playing the game. Newsflash, it's not copium to play the game for fun. There's probably a longer aside about how YouTube titles and content creation in general drives this trivial pursuit of an imaginary number, but I'm saying that as a guy with a clickbaity title, so can't throw too many stones. Okay, one last quote on the MMR. Fifield says, "Those are things we do talk about, and those are not things I'd say are permanent in Hunt." And just to clarify, he's talking about his own line of thinking, not mine. My biggest takeaway from this article is that Crytek is waking up to the idea that Hunt Showdown can have a range of experiences and still keep the essence of what makes it great. Waking up to it is probably a strong sentiment. The devs know, but it feels like a new period of experimentation that was kicked off with Devil's Moon and now Tide of Shadows, as evident with the Thundershower and the Pact system, and even the idea that the MMR system is under review. This article leaves the door open for a lot more questions, and hopefully soon I'll have the opportunity to get those questions answered. So subscribe for whatever you think that's a tease to, and until the next video, goodbye.